Deneuve has been more than just a famous name for many years. She has also been a symbol of beauty, grace, and mystery that will never go away. But now that she is 81, she has changed in the most beautiful way. She was once the most famous actress in French film, and her cold beauty and unmistakable presence charm people all over the world. Some stars lose their shine over time, but Deneuve is still as fascinating as ever. Some people can't believe how old she is, but she has. What does she do to keep her beauty and make such brave decisions in life? Deneuve has been through a lot in her life. She has broken film norms, been involved in scandals, and been through personal tragedies. What does she look like now, though? How has her life changed in ways she didn't expect? We need to go back to the beginning to really understand who she is now. Katherine Deneuve wasn't just born into a family. She was born into the world of movies where telling stories was a daily thing. She came into the world on October 1943, in Paris, France, as Katherine Fabienne Dorléac. Kathy Deneuve grew up in a world where the lights on stage never really went down. Her father, Maurice Dorléac, was an actor and voice actor, and her mother, Renée Simonot, was a famous French theater actress who did voiceovers for Hollywood stars. There was a lot of creativity in their home. Classic movie dialogue played in the background, and sharing stories was a way of life. Even though Katherine grew up near movies, she never dreamed of being on the big screen. She liked how things looked and wanted to be an interior designer or even an explorer one day. She liked the idea of restoring and revealing secret histories. She liked the idea of quiet, artistic expression more than the unpredictable chaos of the movie business. But fate had other ideas. Katherine became an actress not because she wanted to, but because her family had been in the business for a long time. Françoise Dorléac, her older sister, was already on the rise. She was sure of herself, charming, and could play a main lady with ease. She was Katherine's biggest inspiration, and she helped her younger sister see acting as more than just something the family does. Katherine didn't want to, but she did it anyway. She got her first small part in Les Collégiennes 1957 when she was only 13, but disaster struck in 1967 in a way that no script could have told her about. Françoise was killed in a terrible car accident near Nice, France. She was only 25 years old. The loss was too much to bear. Katherine was broken, and she would never fully get over how she felt. The sisters had never been apart. Without Françoise, Katherine's sadness was too much for her to handle. She didn't run away from the attention, though. Instead, she pushed forward, determined to carry on her sister's work. She no longer had the choice to act. It became her mission. Katherine had a hard time as a child, even though she was very pretty for her class. She didn't have any official theater training like many of her friends did. People thought her shows were too quiet and far away. Movie studios often passed her over for actors with more emotional range, and she was stuck in forgettable parts in low-budget movies. She did wait, though. She was there to watch, learn, and wait for the big moment when things would change. At the beginning of the 1960s, she was still trying to find her place in the business, taking on small parts that didn't make a difference. They thought she was pretty enough to be a movie star, but they didn't think she had the depth to be a real main lady. Things changed again in 1964. Genevieve's role in The Umbrellas of Cherbourg was being looked for by director Jacques Demy, a musical where every line was sung, mixing bright colors with real feeling. It was like nothing else I had seen. Either it could be a huge step forward or a total failure. Katherine paused when Demy went up to her. She knew she wasn't a singer. She was scared to think about being in a movie where every word was sung. She almost turned down the part because she was sure she wasn't right for it. Demi saw something in her, though. It was a quiet energy, a presence that didn't need big actions to be felt. Demi told her that her strength wasn't her voice, but how she could show how she felt with her eyes, her face, and even her silences. Katherine took a chance and took on a part that would define her early career after hearing that. It was a big deal when the Umbrellas of Cherbourg opened at the 1964 Cannes Film Festival. People all over the world learned about Katherine Deneuve after her movie won the Palme d'Or. People were mesmerized by her performance, her stunning blonde beauty, and the quiet sadness she brought to Genevieve. Some critics called her the new face of French grace and said she looked like old movie stars. But it wasn't just France that paid attention. The movie went viral around the world, was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film, and proved that Demi's ideas were truly innovative. This mystery and ethereal blonde caught the attention of Hollywood. European movie makers rushed to hire her for their projects. Katherine Deneuve went from being a struggling actor trying to make it to being the epitome of French sophistication, almost overnight. Beautiful, mysterious, and invincible, Yves Saint Laurent was one of the people who paid attention. She was ideal for the famous designer because she was a woman who carried herself like a work of art. But while the Umbrellas of Cherbourg made her famous, it also told people what to expect from her. It was clear she was in charge of the screen, and now everyone was expecting to see what she would do next. She became famous because of her success, but it also brought her problems she didn't expect. Katherine Deneuve's life outside of acting was just as exciting as her roles. As a teen, she liked Roger Vadim a lot. He was older, more sure of himself, and very interested in movies. At the time they lived together, those decisions were seen as scandalous, but Katherine didn't care what people said. Roger asked her to marry him more than once, but she always said no. She didn't need to get married, it was just a ritual for her. They got married and had a son together, but their differences got too big and they broke up. For some, the breakup might have been a crisis, but Katherine just went on. After that, she married David Bailey, a brave and outspoken shooter who did well in the fast-paced fashion world. Mick Jagger was the best man at their quick wedding. The marriage didn't last long, though. Katherine laughed in the past that learning English was the best thing that came out of it. Katherine Deneuve liked trying new things, but she never felt like she had to follow the rules or follow the law. Marcello Mastroianni, an Italian actor who was known for having a strong screen personality, was often linked to her most passionate relationship. Their relationship was strong from the start. They met while making a movie together, but their relationship went beyond the screen. But there was one catch. Marcello was already married. Everyone looked at Katherine and judged her, but she didn't let the rumors affect the decisions she made. Chiara is their daughter, and she became a mother in her own unique way. Still, she said no to marriage again because she thought that a legal contract wouldn't change how much they loved each other. There were rumors about her everywhere she went, especially when she worked with some of the biggest male stars in the business. Several flings with Alain Delon, Clint Eastwood, and Burt Reynolds were talked about. She shared intense moments on TV without letting them spill over into real life, which some people thought made her mysterious. She didn't say much, so people could think what they wanted. One thing about Katherine's relationship stayed the same. She loved freedom more than anything else. She loved deeply, but she always did things her own way. She chose how long the connection would last and what the rules would be, whether she was with a director, a photographer, or a famous person from around the world. This made her even more interesting to many. She wouldn't let titles hold her back. She once said that love shouldn't feel like a prison. That way of thinking shaped how people saw her, making her one of the few stars who bravely dealt with love and fame. Katherine Deneuve never said she was sorry for the choices she made. The world often tried to put women in neat, expected roles, but she was always different. She liked dating, but she didn't want to give up her independence, so she didn't want to follow the traditional road of marriage and commitment for life. Some people thought she was rebellious, but others thought she was just a woman who lived her life her own way. But Katherine wasn't just a mystery when it came to love. She was also a fighter. She never shied away from trouble. Many people were shocked when she signed the Manifesto of the 343 in 1971. It was a brave public statement in which women admitted to having illegal abortions at a time when France still did not allow them. To take a stand, she risked being criticized and even getting in trouble with the law by putting her name. Women should be able to decide what to do with their bodies. She didn't think twice about making a choice that could have cost her her job. After many years, she was in the middle of another firestorm. As the Me Too movement grew, Katherine spoke out against the way it was being run. She believed in women's rights, but she was concerned that some parts of the movement were unfairly targeting people without enough proof. People were angry about what she said. A lot of people thought she was supporting bad behavior, but Katherine didn't say sorry like most people do. She stood her ground as she always had. Even though she made her position clear and called for fairness and open talk, her critics wouldn't give her the benefit of the doubt. Katherine Deneuve didn't give up, though. She kept speaking out like she always did. Her rebellious spirit went beyond problems affecting women. A magazine had used her name without her permission, so she went to court to get them to stop. Katherine thought that her name and image belonged to her alone and that no one else could use them to get attention. She took the magazine to court and won, so it had to change its name. It was a clear message. No one would use her memory to make money without her permission. There was no denying her star power in Hollywood, but she refused to give up who she was for bigger parts. She turned down plots that she thought were too simple or offensive to her culture. She was used to working in French movies and didn't want to change to fit the American system, which often required a certain level of star power. Instead, she stayed loyal to the French film business and only worked on projects that fit with her artistic vision. She had to turn down big Hollywood roles because of this, but it made her known as an actress who never gave up. Katherine Deneuve has been brave all her life, just like she was when she signed the Manifesto of the 343. She never changed no matter what people said about her. The way she spoke in every battle was so clear and strong that not many stars have ever been brave enough to do it. Katherine Deneuve is one of a kind because she has never said sorry for what she believes in. It was true that a woman in the center could be beautiful, strong, and outspoken all at the same time. This was true both on and off the screen. People who wanted her to be something other than herself never got her to change. She took strong stands on social and political problems that changed the movie business and showed that personal values didn't have to be sacrificed for fame. During a time when many stars kept quiet to protect their jobs, Katherine spoke out, even though she was often slammed for it. But she never gave up her views to fit in or feel safe. Things were still getting worse for her, even though she was strong. Katherine's fights were not only seen by many, but they were also close to her heart. She had a hard time giving up cigarettes for years, and at times she smoked up to 3 packs a day. She began when she was young, and the worry of being watched all the time made it worse. On film sets, she always had a cigarette with her, which some people thought was cool. The people she cared about were worried about how it was affecting her health. She knew what could go wrong. She tried to quit many times with patches, hypnosis, and friends' help, but each time she failed. Around the middle of the 1980s, she was able to quit for a few years, but family problems made her give it up again. Fans watched her suffer and hoped she would finally give up such a bad habit. Then, in 2019, everything changed. While I worked on Katherine had a stroke while watching a movie. She was taken to the hospital right away, and the doctors told her she needed to make big changes to her life. The event really shook her up. She put her job on hold and focused on getting better. This is when she may have realized for the first time how fragile life could be. With people who cared about her by her side, she fought the hardest battle of her life. Katherine Deneuve slowly got stronger with the help of physical training and a strict schedule. Many people thought she would step. She wanted to stay away from the screen forever, but she had other ideas. She didn't let a health disaster define her. Instead, she came back in a quiet but strong way. Her way of thinking had changed. On this occasion, she was more focused on her job search. Her love of movies was linked to her health, so she quit smoking for good. She also stopped taking on jobs just to keep busy. Each project had to be important to her. The change was seen by critics. Because of the problems she had been through, her acts had more depth. She wasn't just an actress anymore, she was a survivor, and her roles were stronger because of it. Katherine showed that even when life hits you hard, you can get back up stronger, smarter, and more determined. She hit new heights by the early 1990s. She gave one of her best performances yet in the 1992 historical thriller Indochine, which showed people a side of her they hadn't seen before. She never let fame make her who she was. Even though Hollywood gave Katherine big-budget roles, she stayed true to French cinema, which she loved because it told stories that broke rules and looked at how complicated people are. Indochine 1992, where she played Eliane, was a great example. She gave one of the most gripping performances of her career as a French plantation owner in colonial. She mixed her usual grace with raw emotional depth. Because the movie did well, she was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actress, which wasn't something many French stars had done. Even though she didn't win, just being nominated was a big deal and cemented her place in movie history. Katherine became a symbol of French culture and personality outside of movies. She was Marianne, the national symbol of the French Republic, from 1985 to 1989. This is an award given to women who show freedom and dignity. She wasn't just an actress, she was a symbol of French pride, and people admired her for being strong, independent, and beautiful. She had the same effortless grace in dress that made her an icon. She wore Yves Saint Laurent clothes on and off screen for a long time because she was his model. Their work together was more than just fashion. It was a statement and a celebration of French style. She also worked with high-end names like Chanel and Louis Vuitton, showing that real glamour never goes away. Katherine never gave up her artistic roots, even though she was famous all over the world. Working with young directors who saw her as a quiet but powerful force, she often picked roles that were hard to understand over big-budget movies. There was no denying her presence on screen, whether she was in a historical drama or a modern movie. It was as if the audience were watching not just a character, but a live legend. Her face was still on movie posters, magazine covers, and fashion ads, even after many years had passed. Still, she stayed true to herself, always Katherine Deneuve, never following trends or giving in to what people wanted. She keeps taking on parts, but only the ones that really interest her. She chooses projects that speak to her artistic tastes, now that she doesn't feel like she has to prove anything. Katherine is still a respected person in her field, even as it changes. Her name has meaning without having to be reinvented all the time. Even though she took a break from making movies all the time, she never really left the screen. Recently, she has been drawn to small, character-driven movies that let her explore the subtleties of getting older, identity, and leaving a memory. Her performances now show that she has lived a long time and learned a lot, which makes her already impressive work even more profound. She has an effect on more than just acting. She still fights for social problems and artistic freedom, and sometimes she says things that cause debate. She doesn't try to get acceptance, she just says what she thinks, no matter what other people think. Katherine Deneuve is still as beautiful as ever at age 81,